Today, I'm going to be breaking down a framework that I use with clients to understand what our next move should be with our money. My name is Joshua Scannell. I'm the planner and founder of Future Path Financial Planning, a fee-only RIA. It's called the Financial Order of Operations. Now, I did not come up with this original idea, but I do truly love what Brian and Preston, shout out to the Money Guy Show, did whenever they created this, to create a clear order of operations of what we should do with our next dollar to at least give us an idea where that money should be allocated. Now, each person's situation is unique and different, but this is a good framework that we can use to at least start that process. Now, I did customize this slightly to my firm, and we'll get into that in just a second. So let's get into it. So here's my interpretation of the financial order of operations. Step one is to cover your highest deductible or a 1 month emergency fund, whichever is higher, right? The goal here is to make sure that one accident or one expense that comes up isn't going to put us back into high interest debt like we may be in already. And so that's step one. Step two is getting your employer match through your job, right? That's 100% return on your money. And that's hard to beat even if you're in high interest debt. Now, step three is to pay off all high interest debt. And so you can use the snowball or the avalanche method. Most people have heard of the snowball method from Dave Ramsey, but the avalanche method is focusing more on the highest interest rate instead of the highest balance. But there's pros and cons to each. But what constitutes as high debt? Well, most advisors that you talk to will say that this high interest debt number is somewhere between the 6 to 8% range. And so how do we come up with that 6 to 8% range? Well, if we assume that over time, right, historically speaking, that in the market, right, in the stock market, you could reasonably expect over a long period of time to make 8% rate of return. And so if we can expect to make 8% rate of return over the course of a long period of time, historically, right, there's no guarantees. Past performance doesn't indicate future performance. But if we can expect to make that 8%, then if something is lower than 8%, right, if we have a debt at 4%, we would rather invest our money in something that might get us 8% in the future. But on the contrary, right, if we have a debt that's at 20%, why would we not realize a 20% savings instead of taking a risk to possibly get 8% over a long period? And so that's how I interpret high interest debt. Now, is this the only metric that you should use to determine if you should pay something off? No, there are other factors as well. There's the mental load factor, right? If this is causing you stress and is keeping you up at night, having a car payment, a mortgage that's at 3% or 4%, but it's keeping you up at night, well, there is value in lowering your mental load and being able to sleep better at night. So this isn't a one size fits all. So step four is to get a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. That is 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. I categorize that as wants and needs, not taking into account your savings. Now, I like to call these first four steps your financial foundation, right? Before we take any lavish vacations, we spend a good amount in guilt-free spending. I want you to be at this place where we do have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. We're out of high interest debt, because this will reframe how we think about if we can afford something. And so, in my opinion, if we don't have this financial foundation in place, we probably can't really afford to do a ton of lavish vacations or guilt-free spending. Not saying that you have to go cold turkey here, but I think this is a good framework to decide if we can start to afford things that we want. So after we create this, we're going to move on to the next steps in the financial order of operations. So step five is maxing out your Roth IRA and your health savings account. These are tax advantaged accounts, especially the health savings account is, in my opinion, the ultimate investment account. You're getting the tax deduction on the way in. It grows tax deferred, and if you take it out for qualified medical expenses that inevitably everyone will have, it'll come out tax free compared to the Roth IRA, which gets taxed on the way in. It grows tax deferred and it comes out tax free in retirement. So once you max out the Roth and the HSA, step six is really where it starts to become really personalized. So if you're just a W-2 worker and you don't want to like to be hands-on with your investments, well then maxing out your employer-sponsored plan, a 401k, 403 403b could be a great option for you, right? More tax advantaged accounts and more money working for you. But for other people, maybe you want to be more hands on, and so we want to start funding a down payment for a rental property. Or maybe we want to look to build or start our own business and we want to allocate money for that, right? It becomes very customized. Or even if you want to start funding a taxable brokerage account for a bridge account between age 59 and a half and an early retirement, it becomes very personalized. So I like to call those two steps the wealth builders. After we create the foundation, we can start building your wealth and using different accounts, different investments. We can do that. Then we move to step 7, right, is to prepay future expenses. Most people think of paying tuition for kids or other obligations that will be coming in the future at some point. And then step 8 is paying down any low interest debt. Paying down that low interest mortgage is just going to overall lower your risk. But like I said, these steps definitely are customizable to everyone's life. This page is really specific for you individually, but this is a good framework to think about it. And I like to call the last 2 steps your wealth preservers, right? We're just lowering our risk by paying future expenses, paying down low interest debt. And really, we only want to start doing this whenever we've maxed our wealth builders, right? So our tax advantaged accounts, or we've built so much wealth, we have more money that we will ever need. And so why do we want to take on more risk with any debt, even if it's low interest debt? So like I talked about before, I think using this framework, especially the financial foundation, is a great way to start thinking about where we are at financially, right? If we don't have our complete financial foundation in place, then we probably don't need to be spending on luxury items, luxury cars, taking on more debt. We want to create this foundation so not only financially we're more secure, but in your personal life, that stress and anxiety that you feel with money hopefully is going to go away or go down, because you have that feeling that you are secure. If something were to happen, we have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. We don't have any high interest debt. If you found this interesting and think that this framework could be helpful for your life and you want a professional planner to help with this, then what I do for households is that I do a $1,000 planning engagement called the Opportunity Map. It's a 2-meeting process. That first meeting, we sit down, I understand your situation, and start to realize where our gaps and opportunities are. In that second meeting, I'll present you a deliverable called the Opportunity Map. It'll lay out your entire situation in regards to these 6 focus factors: an opportunity area, the cost of inaction of not doing anything in that area, and 3 to 5 tactical ideas that you can use regardless of if we work together in the future. Because I'm building my firm, I'm actually waiving that $1,000 fee for qualifying households. If you want to know if you qualify, there's going to be a link in the description or in my bio that'll take you to a quick 3-question quiz. And if you qualify, you can book a meeting on my calendar. I hope to see you there.